Good evening, everyone. Welcome to week 8 of control engineering class. Uh, am I audible now? Hello? Everyone is listening.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, in this week, let me share my screen on screen. Yeah, this week we will learn about designing controllers using root lockers. That means we'll be given with time domain specifications, and we are going to learn how to design a controller such that the overall system satisfies the design time domain specifications. Okay, this type of designing is called dominant pole based designing, in the sense that uh, based on the given time domain specifications, you will find out what is the desired pole location called the dot, and you make that as a dominant, in the sense you keep that is closer to the origin, so that remaining all other poles away from far away from this dominant pole. Okay, so that overall effect of the system is dominated by this designed pole. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Let us suppose we are having your open loop system G of S. We are going to design a controller with a transfer function GC of S such that, and also you are given with time domain specifications. Based on that, you will calculate what is the dominant pole. So, we design GC of S, that is the controller, such that the overall closed loop system response satisfies the design time domain specification, which is dominated by the dominant pole, and remaining all poles we keep away from the dominant pole. So that's how you do it here. So before getting into this design technique, let me first brush up some of the concepts which are useful to understand the design steps, so that you can connect easily between what why we are doing that step or not. Okay. First step is for a given closed loop system, second order closed loop system, how it will be the transfer function of second order closed loop system will be like this, right? C of S by R of S is equal to omega n square by s square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square. You remember? So this is the standard form of second order system overall transfer function. So the denominator part, this is called the characteristic equation, and the roots of these characteristic equations we are called as poles. When the roots, when you factorize the form of the characteristic equation will be like this: s plus zeta omega n plus or minus j omega n square root of 1 minus zeta square. Let's say this is plus, and s plus zeta omega n minus j omega n into square root of 1 minus zeta square equal to 0. Right? This is the characteristic equation factored form. So the poles are minus zeta omega n plus or minus j omega n square root of 1 minus zeta square. That is, in the S plane, it will be translated like this. Right? This is your minus zeta omega n, that is the real part, and the imaginary part is omega d or omega n square root of 1 minus zeta square. So these all are you getting these all are already you know. I'm just only brushing up so that who forgot all those things, then they can easily remember these things. So these all are very useful to design techniques. So this is your pole of the second order system, that is the complex pole, and the distance between this is omega n, and this is real part, and this is the imaginary part. And we also know that the locus of these closed loop path poles traces a circle, right? Uh, let's say that x quotient, that is zeta omega n whole square plus omega n into square root of 1 minus zeta square whole square. So this is equal to simply omega n square. That means it traces a circle with a radius omega n, right? Now we will recollect other things. And one more thing I forgot is one more thing is this theta. The angle theta is cos theta is equal to zeta. That means zeta, this theta equal to cos inverse zeta. And another thing, now let's go with time domain specifications for a second order system. Because why we are going through these specifications, because for any system we are going to design, physical system, we are interested on how fast the system is responding, right? The second thing which you are interested in, how it is, how stable it is. And third one which you are interested most is in steady state behavior. That is there any error between the tracking error, or is there whether the response following the given input or not, right? These all are the three major things which you are interested for a physical system to behave. So when it comes to the translating these things into time domain, second order time domain systems, uh, the stability, one way we can say is zeta. Zeta actually tells you how stable the system is. Uh, let's say for example, if zeta is low, zeta, what is the sorry, zeta, not zeta. I can say that what peak overshoot. Peak overshoot for a second order system. So for step input, so this is your MP, right? So the peak overshoot, why? Because this peak overshoot, the formula for peak overshoot is MP is equal to e to the power of minus zeta pi by square root of 1 minus zeta square into 100, right? So that means the peak overshoot depends on the zeta. So higher the peak overshoot, zeta will be low. So higher the peak overshoot, one way we can say that in the it's a less stable. We can say why, because the zeta is low means cos theta is the high. That means in your test domain, this is zeta. If cos theta is high means it is close towards your imaginary axis, right? So that means low zeta means less stable. That is close to imaginary axis means it's close to instability. So one way that zeta captures the stability of the system. Are you getting my point? Hello? I'm not able to see your responses. Can you unmute? Hello? Are you getting what I'm saying? Okay. Please unmute and let me know whether if something is not clear. Please stop me at that point. Because I am talking, I'm assuming that you all are listening to me and you are following me. Because I'm not able to see your expressions or anything. It's a kind of open loop kind of teaching. So you need to tell before to me so that you have to pause me and ask me if you have any doubts or if you did not understand so that I can explain them. Okay. So the stability is captured by peak overshoot MT or that is zeta because it is related to zeta. Then the next is how fast the system is. This can be captured by steady state time. What is settling time? What is the definition for settling time? TFS is the time taken for the system response to reach within certain tolerance, right? For 4%, for 2% tolerance, it is 4 by zeta omega n. So that means if your pole is closer to the origin, that means zeta omega n is closer to origin, then your settling time will be more. That means system is slower. If zeta omega n is far away from origin, something like this, then your settling time will be less. That means the system is faster. So your system response is characterized by this settling time. And stability is characterized by this maximum or peak overshoot. Then tracking error. Tracking error is captured by steady state error, right? E of s is equal to limit s tends to 0 s r of s by 1 plus g of s, right? Since the steady state error depends on the type of the input and the type of the system, we usually represent with respect to error constants, that is ka sorry, kp position error constant, kv that is velocity error constant, and acceleration error constant, right? So where kp is limit s tends to 0 g of s, and kv is limit s tends to 0 s g of s, and ka is limit s tends to 0 s square g of s, and the steady state error e of s is in case of in terms of kp it is 1 by 1 plus kp or 1 by kv or 1 by ks. So these are you remembering all these things? So these all are useful for us to design a system now. The next thing is the root locus, which we learned in the previous class. So root locus tells the location of the poles, closed loop poles. It's a plot of location of closed loop poles as open loop gain k changing from 0 to infinity, right? That means if you have a k is your open loop gain and g of s is your open loop transfer function or Planck transfer function, then 1 plus k into g of s equal to 0 is your characteristic overall Planck characteristic equation. And when k changing, the since k changes, the roots of this equation will changes. That means roots of this equation changes. So it will. So that's the reason your root locus gives you the location of the poles for each k value, right? Let's say, for example, if we have s by s plus 1 into some s plus 2. So, for example, the root locus will be like something like this, right? As k changes, the root starts at poles, open loop poles, and ends at open loop zeros are at infinity, right? This is something like your uh, root locus, right? You have already learned how to draw root locus and some of the things like how to calculate k for a given pole. Let's say, suppose if I give you a pole at this point, how do you calculate k? Uh, so by simply substituting that, let us suppose this is the point, some p1, this is the pole. Then how do you calculate the k at that point? By using this condition, right? K into g of s is equal to minus 1, the magnitude of this one, that is k into g of s magnitude at given pole s is equal to p1 has to satisfy the magnitude 1. This is 1 at an angle 90 degrees. You can write like that in polar form. So the magnitude by substituting the position pole P1 at in the open loop transfer function and equate it to 1, then you will find the k. Like that, we also calculate how the angle deficiency also. So here, every point in the root locus has satisfied the angle criteria. That is, the angle at this point satisfies 180 degrees overall, right? So these are the two conditions it has to satisfy every point on the root locus. Now, let's quickly go through the slides. Then we will take up an example after end of this after the slides. So I quickly go through the slides to summarize what professor is teaching, and then we will solve one problem, present problem. Here. So please let me know if we are not able to understand or convince anything, any points, then we will discuss further. Okay. So this is the first thing which I have design specifications. Because every system we are going to design, the open loop system may not always be as desired. So we wanted to make it our specifications as per our specifications. Like suppose if you switch on the, if you have a AC and you wanted to set it to 24 degrees, then if the system, your AC settled at 24 after 1 hour, it's not you can't make you, won't make you comfort, right? So that is not our desired one. We wanted to make it to be at 24 degrees at some within 5 minutes or within 1 minute, like that. So that means, so always the system is not always as desired. So we have to make it some way to make it our desired uh, specifications. So that's the reason. So we will be, for every problem we will be given with some design specifications. So here mostly the design specifications are transient response and steady state characteristics. Mostly we are given with this um, because peak overshoot and settling time, which actually characterizes our desired speed and stability. So we will be given with these two parameters, zeta. And, from that, you will calculate what is zeta and what is omega m. Okay. Then the next step is steady state error. Sometimes we wanted to make the system error. System has to exactly follow the input. That means the error should be zero. In that case, we will focus on steady state characteristics. And one more point which I did not discuss is the relative stability. The system, we are not always satisfied the system is stable. We are also interested in how far the system from instability. Let's say, for example, if you have the root locus, if you see that if you have designed a pole at this point, that means it is far from here. That means the corresponding k is some value, some k equal to 1. Suppose for k equal to 5, your root locus is close to imaginary axis, right? So that means this point is not that much stable compared to this one. Clear? So that's why we are also sometimes focused on relative stability. In terms of frequency response, we already captured these parameters by using gain margin and the phase margin, right? In the last class, you might have learned all these things. So the relative stability is captured by means of gain margin and all. The next thing is the effect of zeros in dominant poles. This is what we already know why we are interested in dominant poles, because uh, this is actually the dominant poles actually have the more effect on the system response. Dominant poles are basically these are poles closer to the imaginary axis, and these parameters this is actually decide the overall system response. That you have already why this is we have already learned about this one. Why? Because if you factorize the closed loop system transfer function and calculate the inverse Laplace transfer, you will get something like e to the power of some x t x1t and e to the power of minus x2t, like that you will have terms like that, right? So where the pole, which is the pole, this is called the pole location. If this pole is closer to the imaginary axis, this will decay much slower than compared to the poles far away from the imaginary axis. That means if x2 is here at some point here, then that will much that term this term will decay much faster than compared to this one. So this is dominated by entire system's response is dominated by this pole. So that's the reason we are focused on dominant pole design. And then the next thing is, even if you have higher order system, these are dominant poles for complex conjugate. This is second order. But if you want, because if the system is higher order system, what we have to do is we design a system such that the dominant poles satisfy the your design specifications, and we place all other poles away from the dominant poles, so that these will decay much faster. So that the entire system is affected by this location of the dominant poles. How far we choose that other poles is based is actually up to at least 5 times far away from real parts of the dominant pole. This is how we design a system. Are you getting any doubts? Okay. So need for a controller. Yeah, this is what we already told you, right? Since the system, the open loop system G of S may not always behave as required, so we wanted to make the entire system as desired. So that's the reason we will design a controller GC of S, so that overall system with closed loop this system behaves as required. So that is what one thing. That is another thing is this is what another thing is the stabilize the system. Sometimes this open loop system may not be stable, so we wanted to design a control so that the overall system is stable. So for that, you will be given with the desired transient response characteristics via second order system. Basically, peak overshoot MP and settling time this is 4 by zeta omega and for 2% tolerance. This is what actually we have to assume like that. If they did not give any specification about the tolerance, the use standard is 2% tolerance. So from by solving this one, you will get what is zeta, right? Zeta is equal to minus of ln mp divided by square root of pi square plus ln mp whole square. So once you calculate the zeta, then you substitute that in the given specification of Ts, then you will find omega n. Then once you got omega n zeta, then you find the dominant poles zeta omega n and this one, you will get the location of the dominant poles. So this is the first step for every problem you have to handle. So first step is you need to calculate the location of the dominant poles. Okay, then we have to always ensure that this should be remaining poles should be keep it away far away, at least 5 to some more than at least 5 times more than the real part of this dominant pole. So that's why we'll design. So generally you will be given with either MP and settling time Ts, or sometimes they will be given with zeta or omega n directly. If they give like this, you will convert that into this one. So the specification sometimes will be, so I want zeta this one and omega n this one. That is a fixed point, right? So you will find out what is the location of the poles and zeta poles of the dominant poles, that is minus zeta omega n, by using this one. Then calculate what is the K corresponding to the, what is the corresponding gain, and you design the uh, controller. Sometimes they will be given with ranges of zeta. So that means they will give some zeta 1 less than zeta 2. Like that they will give for omega n also omega 1 less than some omega. Like that. Then this is your interested area. You need to design a controller such that your dominant pole should be in this area. Sometimes they gave the specifications of peak overshoot and setting time with a limits like upper limit. Then this will be, because see, this curve, this will tell you the location of zeta, right? MP, from the MP you will calculate zeta. So that zeta is given by captured by this angle theta, right? This theta cos theta equal to zeta, or zeta equal to cos inverse theta, right? This will be, so this is the interested area for you if they give MP is something less than some C1, or then settling time from this you will find out omega n, right? So this omega n, you will be based on that value CV, you will find out what is the range of uh, omega n. This is directly calculations. That means this part, this length, this is the omega n, right? So the intersection part is this part. This is your range of interest. So that you need to place a pole here, dominant pole in this area, so that it will satisfy these two conditions. For steady state response, usually given with the Kp and KVR in terms of these steady state error constants, then you will find out what is the type order of the system. This is basically when you are going to use the integrator, right? That integrator there makes the steady state error to 0. So when you are going for lag compensator PA, that time you will be dealing with these steady state errors. Let's take one simple example. Here, g of s is given by open loop system transfer function is uh, given by 1 by s into s plus 2 into s plus 4, and they has given MP is this one and the TS is this one. Now, the first step is we need to calculate what is the dominant pole defined by ST. ST equal to minus zeta omega n plus or minus j omega n into square root of 1 minus zeta square. So this is the first step. So from this using MP you will calculate zeta. Then if you substitute that zeta into in this expression you will get omega n. Then you will get desired pole location. Okay. So for this example, this is the desired pole location. Now, the first step is before going to models like PI, PD, or lag or lead compensator or anything. First step is we have to look at whether a simple proportional gain is enough, controller is enough to solve this problem. How do you know whether proportional system satisfies this one? That means you first draw a root locus for the given open loop transfer function. So for this is we can say easily this is open. This will be something like this, right? This is the root locus. First step you should draw a root locus, and then check the location of this ST, that is the dominant pole. If this dominant pole directly existing on the root locus, something like here or here, then you simply find out the k corresponding to that point. Okay, if you get this k, so that means this k is enough for you. The total closed loop system has a desired pole location. This is the k, right? So that once you will close the loop system, that means 1 plus k into g of s equal to 0 satisfies this desired pole location, right? This is much simpler than compared to any other. Suppose if this given specification does not turn to be on the root locus, then something if it is here or somewhere. So in that case, what we should do? So that we will see later. So let's first discuss about this proportional controller. So for that, what we have to do? First, to calculate the desired pole location and check whether this pole location is on the root locus or not. Then, if it is on the root locus, then simply calculate the k. So that is your controller. So here in this case, this is your root locus and this is the point. So this is the point which is the matching your desired pole location, that is ST, which you have calculated. So the corresponding K at this point is 8.25. So directly the controller itself is a simple proportional controller with a gain K. You can see the system response here. One with you can compare the steady state. The specifications that they has given is MP and then is this settling time, right? So from this we can calculate zeta and omega n. Then we can follow the transfer function standard formula of omega n square by s square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square. This is your closed loop system, right? So for this closed loop system, calculate the system response for the step input. So that then you will get where here S is your dominant poles. So then the system response looks like that. This is what we wanted. Then with proportional controller, we are getting this one. Why? Because this is somewhat deviating because we are having the third order system here, right? So the overall system transfer function is a third order system. But what we did is we keep the one pole, pair of poles, that is dominant poles close to the desired pole location, and we kept the other pole which is away from that one. So that is the reason we are not getting exactly matching that one. So this is what the pole locations. So this is another pole. This is not 4.66. So here somewhere. For the same K, it is actually one more pole will be here. So this is the how you design a system using proportional control. If the system design characteristics simply satisfying the point lies on the root locus, you can simply design a system by using proportional control. Just taking the k value. Suppose another example here also the same thing. They wanted the poles are desired poles are something they given another problem where the poles now this time the MP is less than 10% and then this is 5.4%. So the desired pole locations are here. Now again check the root locus of G of S, that is 1 by S into S plus 2 into S plus 4. So this time this is your pole location correspond to your desired characteristics. So this is also you are lucky that you are having your desired pole on the root locus. So simply calculate the k at this point. So that's it. That is your controller. What if the point is not going on the root locus? So in both cases, simple gain adjustment result is at the closed loop performance. So we calculate the k by using the magnitude criteria, which I already told, right? 1 plus g of s equal to 0, and calculate k is equal to 1 by g equal to 0. That means kg magnitude is equal to 1. So g magnitude of g for k is equal to 1 by g at the desired pole location s equal to sd. Suppose if the k comes out some real number, then we can say that the system is that means the desired pole is on the root locus. Or if it is something turns out like some imaginary number or something, that means that k is not on the real root locus, then you have to go for the further design techniques. Let's go that. Is it clear what I am saying as of now? Are you following? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So what if the desired pole is not on the root locus? So here it is the desired pole which is not on the root locus. In this case, what we have to do is we have to shape this root locus plot in such a way that the root locus has to pass through this point. That is how we have to do. So how do you reshape the root locus? Reshape the root locus. So root locus, how do you reshape? Either by adding to pole or zeros or something like that, so that you will somehow make it a system towards this the desired pole. Uh, so what we here in these plots are explained actually the effect of adding a zero. Suppose if you add a zero to the open loop transfer function, like for this 1 by s into s plus uh, s into s plus 2 into s plus 4. So the pole location, that means now the if you are adding a polar means, that means your system becoming unstable, like, right? Let us suppose if you are having only two poles, there is no zero, then your asymptotes will be like this, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, right? Suppose if you are having adding any additional pole or something, then that means then you will have sorry. So it will change the system order. Suppose first of all, if you are having s equal to s plus 1 plus 6, that means you will have the asymptotes are some 60, 180, 270, and 360, right? So that means you will have the system follows like this, right? Suppose if you add a pole here, let's suppose s plus g, that means now the p minus the number of root locus at this point, now it will be p n minus p n minus m, right? That means it reduces by one number of zeros. So that means you will have only two. So that means your asymptote will be like this, right? So that means you are making by adding a zero, you are pulling the root locus left of the imaginary axis, and sometimes it is making the system to stable. That means your transients are improving. So here we have plotted for different values of zeros. One, this is without zero. This plot is without zero. Now here they have added one zero at s equal to minus one. So the root locus is now turned from here into like this. So that's what I told you, right? It became 90 degrees, 90 and 270. Now in this case the asymptotes are like this, right? Now if you are put a keeping zeros far away from that one, then it is more and more stable. So what the effect of adding 0 is, it is pulling off the uh, uh, system response away from imaginary axis. Now we will go to how do you reshape the system. That is what our target now. If the desired pole is not on the root locus, how can you reshape the system? By adding a 0. So PD control means S plus GC, right? S plus GC. This is your proportional controller. So in this case, PD controller. So here, how do you choose ZC so that we will have a dominant pole as the your main that is the desired pole as your dominant pole, and all the remaining poles are away from root locus. That is our target, right? So that means now you will have systems are two systems. One is GC controller and another one is G. Two controllers. Sorry, one G is the plant and this one. Now the overall closed loop system is 1 plus GC into G equal to 0. This is our overall characteristic equation. So now in this case, the angle criteria should be satisfied. What it is? GC, that is the angle of this one. This is equal to GC. I'm writing here. GC and G equal to -1. That means the angle of the sum of angles given by that controller plus added by the controller and the that is the what is the open loop transfer function should add up to 180 degrees. Then only we can make sure that your overall system pole is on the root locus, right? So that's the reason we have to satisfy. So whatever the 0 you are adding by means of GC, so the overall angle contribution by this GC plus the open loop system should satisfy. If it is equal to 180 degrees, then we can make sure that the system that closed loop system pole is on the root locus. So that is so we have to satisfy this one. So for that, first we have to calculate the angle deficiency. Angle deficiency means what is the angle contribution, current angle contribution that is from the open loop pole, open loop transfer function G of S. Then subtract that one from 180 degrees. Then you will get GC. Yeah, what is the angle deficiency? Then you will design a 0 for that one. I will explain you one detailed example so you can understand what is this one. So in this case, we are having open loop transfer function has S by sorry 1 by S into S plus 2 into S plus 4. So that means this is your, let's suppose your desired pole is ST. Then at that point, what is the angle contribution by means of G of S? That is G at ST is this is the angle contribution. Now the compensator has to provide the remaining angle. That is, this has to provide the remaining angle. How do we calculate this remaining angle? By using trigonometry, that is a sine law. Like if you have, this is angle A, and this is your side, and this is B, and this is your B, and this is the length of this side is C, and this is your angle C. Then you know that the sine law, right? A by sine A equal to B by sine B equal to C by sine C, right? So using this rule, you will calculate what is the distance, this length. How do we know that omega is already given, right? For given desired pole, omega we know that one. And this phi we already calculated using the angle deficiency condition. Then you will have to calculate this ZC. So that is, we can formulate that one, right? Omega n by sine phi. Omega n by sine phi using this sine rule equal to this length is ZC, right? 0 to ZC. That means ZC by this angle, right? Some x axis, some angle x. I'm writing like that. So sine x. What is this x? This x is, let us suppose if you draw a parallel line. So how do you calculate this x? This is, you know, right? This is 180 minus theta. That is equivalent to this one. So 180 minus theta. Then subtract that one. So we know. So you will calculate this one using sine triangle. Triangle total angle is 180 degrees. Right? Pi minus theta minus this one. Or this is 180 minus theta. So you will get this one. This x. Pi minus theta. This is total one minus this phi. So then you will get this is phi. Then you will get this x. You are getting? Hello. This is very much. This is important point. You need to understand. How do you find out ZC? So by using that sine rule, you can find out that ZC by this angle. This is equal to phi minus theta minus phi equal to omega n by sine phi. Okay. So now this is equal to, from that, ZC is equal to omega n in sine theta plus phi by omega n. Now we already know what is theta by using dominant poles, and phi is computed using the angle deficiency condition. Then you can find out ZC. So the overall transfer function now will be S plus. So the control of GC of S will be K into S plus ZC. Now we have to calculate what is K. K we can calculate by using magnitude criteria. So this is the one. We have to compute, we substitute SD into this equation S and equate to 1, you will get K. So in this equation, then it is your 5.0 is the your K value. So the final design will be this one. This is your final design, and you can even calculate the compensated system overshoot and time. This one. This is exactly matching the desired system here. Why? Because you can see that why you can immediately see why it is satisfying, because if you factorize this one, you will get one pole is ST, one pole will be ST, two poles, complex poles satisfying this one, and there might be another pole that is much far from ST, so that is quickly dying out. So you are getting exactly matching this one. So, but the problem with this controller, that is PD controller, or just PD controller, that is S plus proportional plus controller, is it is not physically realizable. And also, not only that, there are two reasons for this one. One is it amplifies the high frequency noise. Why? Because this is PD means a differentiator. It acts as a differentiator. Differentiator means high pass filter. So high pass filter for high frequencies, it amplifies. Suppose if you differentiate sine omega t, what you will get? Suppose if you differentiate sine omega t, what you will get?
Cos, ma'am.
Pardon? What is the differentiation of sine omega t?
Ma'am, cos omega t.
That's a differentiating with respect to t. omega cos omega t. I'm not asking to differentiate with respect to omega t. I'm asking you differentiate with respect to t,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So cos omega t, omega cos omega t. That means if frequencies are higher, your system differentiator output will be omega times that one. That means it will be high. That means it is amplifying the frequencies system. That's what it's happening. That's why it is actually it has that differentiator or the PD controller which we have designed. We have seen so far. This is this is acts as a differentiator. That means it amplifies high frequencies. Okay, that is the one reason we won't directly use the PD form, definitely the controller in the pure PD form. And another one is it is difficult, it is not possible to realize exactly. So these are the two reasons. So we won't use this controller directly in the in practical application. So what we do is instead we design a compensator. Compensator means this is a lead compensator. That means we will add another pole for the same system where we keep the PC far away from ZC. This is the location of your open loop pole, controller pole ZC, and we choose another pole which is far away from PC so that this effect is very less compared to ZC. This is called lead compensator. So in this case, now since we are adding additional pole, the compensator gain should be the angle provided by the compensator is S plus ZC minus S plus ZC. This is the angle provided by S plus ZC, and this is the angle S plus PC. Okay, so the difference between those two, that is this is the phi. So your compensators to this phi should be equal to the angle deficiency that we already found in the previous open loop port by that open loop transfer function. So what we are actually doing here, all we are doing is we wanted to design a controller such that that means we are shaping the root locus so that the root locus has to pass through the dominant pole. That is what your objective in this design of controller. Okay. Now, with these two parameters, before we have only one parameter ZC, we have to find. Now we are having two parameters ZC and PC. These two need to be found, but only we are having only one design parameter, that is angle efficiency has to satisfy is phi. Right? This is the lead compensator. So we already found that we have to design now two things. One is the location of zero, and one thing is location of zero and the location of the poles you need to find, but only one parameter we know is the angle phi. So since this is the number of equations are less compared to required parameters, that means there are more number of possibilities happen here. Then how do we choose the best possibility? One way is using trial and error method, and another one is the method that is one actually given in this one. This is another method. I will go through that one. Okay. So ZC we can write it as S plus ZC by S plus PC. This is equivalent to S plus 1 by T by 1 plus alpha T, where alpha is nothing but ZC by ZT is less than 1, because we are keeping ZC close here and PC is far away from ZC. That means ZC by PC is less than 1. Okay. So the pole is left of the 0. Now, how far the left of the 0 should we should place the pole? So this is our design consideration now. So the steps are same thing. First we start given the specification. We have to first calculate the what is the dominant pole location. Then next thing is check if the proportional controller meets the design specification. That means what we explained you before that by just keeping k into g of s, set that calculate the magnitude of the curve. If it is giving you two ways we can do. One thing is magnitude criteria and another one is angle criteria. In the magnitude criteria, what you do, k is equal to 1 by g of s, where s is equal to st. You calculate the k. If the k is comes out some real number, something physical meaning, that means we can calculate there is that means something or infinity or something you are getting, that means we can't simple proportional control is not sufficient, we have to go for next one, or otherwise we can calculate the angle criteria, that means 1 plus k into g of s at s equal to st, calculate the angle, that if it is the angle is minus 180 degrees, then we can say that uh, that k is we can use simple proportional control can be used. So the next step is we have to calculate the angle difference. If you are not getting with a simple proportional controller, we are not getting 180 degrees angle, then what we have to do, we have to exact 180 degrees means we have to find out the angle difference. Means how much angle that we need to compensate to get 180 degrees. So that angle is called the phi. This is the angle we need to provide by the controller. Okay, since now here we are having two design parameters, one is but our requirement is this one, we need to satisfy this phi, but we are having two variables, one is PC and another one is ZC. That means there are multiple options are available. So how to choose the best PC and GC, that is our next question. So here there are some examples, choice of this is again these equations are again following the sine rule. Let's say ZC, the location of ZC, what we have to do, omega n by sine mu1 equal to ZC. This is the length ZC, right? ZC by sine gamma, right? This is the sine rule. Now you substitute those values here. You will get ZC equal to sine gamma omega n into sine gamma by this mu1 will be equal to pi minus theta minus. This is a right angle triangle. Simple, we can, this is a triangle, right? You can simply use that one also. So pi minus theta minus mu1, so theta minus gamma, you will get sine mu, this one, right? So you can solve this one. So here you know what is the gamma. Gamma we need to find out what is the gamma, how do you choose this gamma. And once the gamma and theta is already known, so you can solve for what is the ZC. Again like that for PC also. For this one here in this case, omega n by, this is mu2, right? Sine mu2 equal to this length PC, right? Now PC by this angle. That angle will be equal to 180 minus mu2 minus this one, right? Or you can use, this is already 180 minus pi minus theta. You can use anyway this one. Pi minus this is the total pi, and subtract this part and this part. This part is theta and this part is we wanted this one, right? Mu2. No, directly can put. So this mu, we wanted mu2 here. Sine mu2 is in this triangle 180 minus 5 plus gamma plus theta, right? 180 minus theta plus phi plus gamma. So substituting those values, since we know we are yet to find out what is the gamma. This is now we are bringing uh, calculating two variables into one single variable unknown. Using that, you will calculate ZC and PC. So by solving these two by substituting this one, then how to choose this gamma is our now our design condition. So the choice of gamma, there are different conditions are available. Since uh, so the gamma is basically the difference between. So this is the gamma which we need to find out. So for that, let's see how different values affecting the overall system response. Suppose if you choose gamma is 15, then your system is behaving like this. Suppose if we choose gamma is 55, then gamma your alpha is turns out to be 0.436 and k is corresponding with k here. So you are getting this kind of difference. Now if you choose a different gamma, you are getting different value. So what is the best gamma you are going to choose? So that uh, our ultimate aim is to maintain a dominance. That means your ZC should, this open loop 0 is to compensate overall uh, system uh, dominant condition, and we need to choose a pole which is far away from that one, right? That is what this is. That means if alpha is equal to here, we are getting that difference is given by this alpha. Alpha is nothing but your ZC by PC, right? If ZC by PC is more, this is more, that means your PC is far from ZC. Are you getting my point? So you have to find gamma at which you are getting maximum alpha. See, in this previous example, if you choose 55 degrees, your alpha is 0.43. If you choose gamma is equal to 15 degrees, your alpha becomes 0.32, much lesser. But if you choose gamma is equal to 41.53, then your alpha is much better than, right? What is the optimal value of gamma such that you will that maximize this dominance condition? That means alpha gets maximized. So that we can find out by analytically by using your relationship. Alpha is ZC by PC. We have already calculated the analytical expression for ZC and PC in terms of gamma here. So this is your expression for ZC and this is your expression for PC. Now you substitute those two in the alpha expression. Now differentiate this with respect to gamma and make it to 0. So you will get at what value of gamma you will get maximum alpha. So why we need maximum alpha? Because we wanted to satisfy dominance condition. That means your pole, whatever the additional pole you are adding, that should be far from the designed 0. So that is our goal. So that's why we choose a gamma such that this satisfies this condition. Okay. So once you get this gamma, then the next step is you have to calculate the gain k and verify overall specifications. This is how the system designing of lead compensator. So what are the final steps? One is given a system and given specification, we convert that into dominant pole. That is the first thing. That is the desired pole, what we call it as a desired pole. And the second thing is we have to check the angle deficiency. One second. So the next step is, first step is, I will write here. So the first step is calculate SD desired pole, that is the dominant pole. The second step is calculate angle deficiency. directly tell you whether simple proportional controller is sufficient or we have to go for lead compensator. Because if we get the angle difference is zero means that means your desired pole is on the root locus. Directly simple k corresponding to that you can use that one is for a proportional controller. That is enough. That is satisfy the overall system characteristics, right? So if that their angle deficiency is there, that means this 180 degrees is not sufficient. So we have to there is some angle that needs to be provided by the lead compensator. The next step will be find the locations of ZCF. First, next step is we have to calculate gamma, which is equal to 5 1 minus. After differentiating, you got that one, right? Here itself. Yeah, this is the one. Next step will be calculate gamma. 5 minus theta minus 5. Here you are getting 5 angle deficiency. From the SD, you can calculate theta. Theta is nothing but your cos inverse. Theta you directly or imaginary by the real part, right? So that itself give you that R from zeta also cos inverse zeta. You will get theta. Then angle deficiency. From that next step is you have to calculate gamma. Then then you can compute ZC and ZC and PC, which are locations of compensator 0 and pole. Then next step is calculate K, gain K. Right? These are the 5 steps you need to follow for designing a overlook controller to satisfy the desired specifications. So once we have this one, then we have to verify whether it is satisfying or not by plotting the time domain response. Okay, that is your final step. Validate. Let's quickly go through one example. Are you getting? These are the steps which you need to follow for designing a lag compensator. Let's do one problem. Are you clear? Do you have any doubts? No doubts. Everything is clear? Okay. Good. Let's start with one design problem. Here they are given a open loop transfer function g of s equal to 1 by s into s plus 1 into s plus 4 and the design specifications will be they are given directly zeta is equal to 0.5 and omega n is equal to 2. That means your overall system, that means I directly translated because there is no time for you to calculate MP, given MP and given steady state, settling time, calculate zeta and this one. I am assuming simple thing that is zeta is equal to this one and omega n is equal to 2. So you have to design a controller GC of S such that the dominant pole of closed loop system with GC of S and G of S, that means G of S and GC of S, your closed loop system pole should have polet SD desired polet minus zeta omega n plus or minus j omega n into square root of 1 minus zeta square, that is equal to, by using these two values, that is equal to minus 1 plus or minus j 1.732, or so I can write it as minus 1 plus or minus j root 3. So this is your desired pole. So once you design a controller G of S, the overall system characteristic equation should have a dominant pole of SD, this one. So that is our objective. So first step is calculating the, this is the first step, which I already told. From the desired specification, translate that into desired pole location. The second step will be calculating angle deficiency. This will directly tell you whether you can use a simple proportional controller or you have to go for compensator. So this step reduces to calculating K, and if it is the case giving the correct value or not. Those things are not needed. Directly you can go with the angle deficiency. So from here, the angle deficiency, let me plot this one. How do you calculate angle deficiency? So this is your desired pole minus 1 plus j root 3, and the system is having poles at s equal to 0 and s equal to minus 1 and s equal to minus 4. There are 3 poles, right? Now you have to calculate the angle deficiency for this one. So what is the angle here? Theta. This is P1, P2, P3. So angle P1, the angle contributed by this pole P1 to this desired pole, it is, this distance is 1, right? And this is root 3. So tan inverse, so the angle we always use the positive convention, that is, let's, I don't want to use that one. This angle is 180 minus tan inverse. This is the angle. I already told you that one. This is 180 minus tan inverse root 3 by 1. That is equal to 180 minus root 3 means 60 degrees. That means 120 degrees. Right? And the angle contributed by P2. This is 90 degrees. Directly you can see from here. It is 90 degrees. And here, this angle, we always calculate with respect to positive direction. That means angle contributed by pole P3 to the desired pole SD is, this distance is 3, right? So tan inverse root 3 by imaginary by real, root 3 by 3, that is equal to 30 degrees. Are you following? Now the total angle contributed by all these 3 poles P1 plus P2 P3 is equal to, because they are on the denominator minus, right? Minus of 120 minus 120 plus 90 plus 30. So total will be minus 240. So this is the total angle contributed by the 3 poles, these 3 poles. But what we required is 180 degrees. So the difference, the angle deficiency is phi is equal to minus 180 minus minus 240 degrees. That is 60 degrees. So whatever the compensator, that is K into S plus ZC by PC, should contribute this much angle. This will telling, this is telling two things. One is, if it is the angle deficiency is 0, that means proportional control is enough. If the angle, since this angle is not equal to 0, that means we have to go for compensator. The next step is we have to calculate gamma. So now, as of now, we know what is phi. Phi is equal to 60 degrees, and theta. Theta is nothing but the angle from with respect to dominant force from the origin. This one is theta. Here this is minus 1 plus j root 3. So this is again root 3 by 1. That means tan inverse root 3 by 1 is 60 degrees. Right? Now the formula for gamma. Gamma is, sorry, gamma not psi. Gamma is 1 by 2 into pi minus theta minus phi. So which will be 30 degrees, right? 180 minus 60 divided by 2, 30 degrees. So this is your gamma. Now we can directly calculate ZC and PC by using those formulas. So ZC is omega n into sine gamma by sine theta plus gamma. So which is equal to omega n is already given, that is 2 into sine 30 by sine 30 plus 60, right? This is equal to 1. Now the location of PC. PC is omega n sine gamma plus phi by sine theta plus gamma plus phi. So which is equal to 2 into sine 90 by sine 150. Right? This is 60, 60 and 30. So this is equal to 4. So the overall compensator is K into 1 plus, sorry, S plus ZC by S plus PC is equal to K into S plus 1 by S plus 4. Right? So what is left? We have to find out K. K we can find using magnitude criteria. That means now the overall open loop function will be like this, right? K into GC of S into G of S, where G of S is 1 by S into S plus 1 into S plus 4, and G of S is this one. So K into GC into G of S will be equal to K, this pole and the open loop pole from G of S, and open loop 0, that the compensator 0 get cancelled, right? So you will get the overall open loop transfer function will be S into something, S into S plus 4 whole square, right? So this is your open loop transfer function. The overall system transfer function will be 1 plus K by S into S plus 4 whole square equal to 0. So you can calculate K is equal to S into magnitude of K, S into S plus 4 whole square at S equal to desired location is SD, where SD is minus 1 plus or minus j root 3. We already calculated this one. So if we substitute that one here, then you will get K is equal to 24. Right? So now the overall transfer function is the overall compensator. Need compensator is K is 24 S plus 1 by S plus 4. This is your compensator. The next step is we have to verify the system. I'm using a MATLAB how to verify all this system. Let let me open my MATLAB and then show you. Are you getting the example is clear for you? Hello? Okay, thank you. Let's open MATLAB. So the first step is we have to plot the root locus. So so here I am defining this, and then this is my open loop transfer function, and then compensator which I got is s plus 1 by s plus 4. The overall open loop transfer function is g into g of s I defining. Then I am plotting the root locus for this one. Let's see how. So this is the root locus. So here you can see that where the point, whether the desired zeta is nothing but our zeta is 0.5, right? Whether 0.5 is there are the root locus or not. Now the 4 corresponding to this one. So this is the overall root locus we have plotted. Our desired pole which we wanted is minus 1 into s plus j, uh, s plus root 3j. Whether this is on the root locus or not now. Now we can see that zeta is equal to 0.5. See, so, approximately for 0.57. So this is 1.2 and 1.68, right? That is actually matching our value. For 0.5, we can get minus 1. That means now after plot our compensator placing the root locus on the desired pole. So the next step is what is the k at that point. So this is your SD, and what is the k at this point. The k is 23.99. We got 24, right? Exactly the same thing we got now. Now the see the poles of the closed loop system. Once we design, the next step is we have to check the poles whether this pole is dominant pole is on the desired pole location. See, the poles are now minus 1 plus or minus j root 3, and here we are getting 6. 6 is our pole, and we also got another pole. This is the something we have to think of why we got like this. The reason for this one is uh, if you see this here, the transfer function which it is calculated is it is not cancelling the open loop pole and open loop 0, the compensator 0 and the open loop pole. It's actually taking that as S4, fourth order system. What we got is after designing is a third order system, right? This is our system. S into S plus 4 whole square. This is a third order system. But here MATLAB actually considering it is not cancelling the root 0 and directly calculated fourth order system and computed fourth parameters. But we can do that one also. Here I am actually assuming this is my transfer function. Overall transfer function G1 is this one, right? See the poles are now. So 3 poles. One is the dominant pole plus or minus minus 1 root 3, and another pole which is actually placed 6 at 6. That means it is far from dominant 0. 5 times, we wanted at least 5 times fast. So the design system actually plays exactly at 5 times 1. This is a good controller which we have designed now. Now next step is we have to validate. See that step response. The step response, you can see that step response using step of T1. So this is the step response of the overall compensator. Now we will compare with the open loop system, the step response and the desired compensator step response and dominant pole system step response. We all three see here. Here, this is the first one is G is the open loop system. Then we will plot that what is the step response using this open loop system, and then using compensator, what is the step response, and the required one, which is what the desired system is s square by this one, right? The transfer function is omega n square by 1 plus 2 zeta omega n square plus that one. So that is the actual desired step response. Now we will plot all three and see how that plot looks like. This is the green color one. Are you able to see? This green color one is the original system without compensator. See how the system is slow, how slow it is, right? It is taking very long time to reach the steady state response. So that is the reason we are designing a controller. So that now the designed controller is with the dominant pole, that lead lag compensator. We got red color one, sorry, actual blue color one. This is the after designed controller, and this is the desired pole response. So there is small difference because these two, this is because of the additional pole we have added, right? That PC, because of that there is a difference. So understand this one, the design part. So that's all for today. In the next class, we will go with lag compensator and lead lag compensator. And someone actually asked in the forum that disclosure, right? They got the angle deficiency of 120 degrees. But actually, the lead compensator or whatever, any compensator at most can provide 60 degrees or the maximum 50 to 67 degrees. So how do we design a compensator in that case? Because the angle deficiency is 120, but one lead compensator at most can provide 60 to some 50, 60 to 70 degrees. So how can we do? In that case, we need to use a cascade compensator. That means we need to design two double compensator. Uh, Cascaded compensator. We are going to use if the phi is greater than 70 degrees or 60 degrees at max. So in that case, you have to use this one. So in this case, if there is some angle deficiency comes like some phi is equal to 110 degrees, then you have to split into two controllers, two compensators like S plus ZC1 by S plus TC1, and another one is S plus ZC2 by S plus PC2. So there are two compensators now, two lead compensators cascaded connected in cascade. Now we need to find the values. So let's say we can split this angle deficiency like some 50 and 60 degrees. So first you design one controller, maybe this one or this one, anything. That's a design and compensate for this 60 degrees. So then you will get one compensator that is with now we are going to design two, right? GC of 1 and GC of 2, and then This is the open loop system, E of S. So first what you have to do is first to design one compensator for a given choosing compensating angle 60 degrees. Then you consider this as mu G, some G1, and this is your GCF, second compensator GC1, which has to provide 50 degrees angle difference. So like that you have to again the same technique you need to follow by using this is now new G is this one, and this is your compensator you are going to design. So like that you can find out overall cascaded compensator. Okay, is it clear? This is how you need to follow if the angle difference is greater than 60 or 70 degrees. So that's all for today. If you have any doubts, I can clear now. Are you fine with this class? Is it clear? Any doubts? Okay. Okay. That's all for today's class. Next class we will go with the lag compensator. Thank you.